crafty monkeys. We are going to be making a little sewing case, a pencil case, cable case, anything you want. It's got a central zip, lots of techniques in here, lots of skill building that you've already got. Here's mine. There you go. It's a good square size, quite big, it's about 8 inches finished. The central zip is very useful because it means you can really open it up wide and see what you've got stored in there. It's really practical, really easy to make. It's fully lined, you've got a zip to put in, so that's really good practice. You've got more cutting to practice on, and you've got the lining and the working inside out and back to front and all that. So there's lots and lots of skill building to learn here with your lovely little project case, and they're brilliant for presents. So if you're buying a little bit of makeup or a game or sewing supplies, anything for your friends, even chocolate would go in here very nicely. It just makes it a little bit extra special for all your friends and family. There you go, get ready to sew. Got all your pieces cut now. This is my lining fabric, this is my main fabric. These are my 2 little pieces for my zipper tabs. That just keeps them really nice and neat and a professional finish to your pencil case or supply case, your makeup case, whatever you're making. First thing we've got to do after that is to get our zip to the right length. Now I just buy zips when I see them. This is one of my favourite greens, and as you can see it's basically 10 inches long, so it's far too long. You need the whole zipper tape to be 8.5 inches long, so we've got to trim it down. I don't tend to trim from this end where the zip is. I will trim from here. This is our excess. I'm just going to take a biro and I'm just going to mark where I need to trim it. And I'm not actually going to cut that excess off now. I'm going to put our zipper tabs on first. So all you've got, long piece, I'm just going to fold about 1/2 inch in. You can press that with your iron, okay? And then we're just going to put it on the end here. And we're going to sew right across. Now, what you're going to want to do is make sure you've got a plastic zip, because you can't cut also through metal teeth. So you want a plastic zip, and you're going to sew right across there. And we're going to do exactly the same with the other end of the zip. And that just gives us a really nice, neat, not bulky finish. And you're going to pin those in place and we're going to sew them. So next step, we'll need our sewing machines. I've got my machine just set up with my 1/4 inch sewing foot, duck thread through the needle because I've got dark fabric. If you really want to do a perfect job and you make sure your tension is really, really spot on, you could have the bobbin thread the same colour as your lining, and then you wouldn't see either thread. I've just got what I had on. Okay, so if you remember, we're going to put these little tabs on the end of our zips. This is our mark. This is where we're going to trim the zip to. So you're going to put that seam allowance just on there. And this piece is wide on purpose. It's much wider than it needs to be on purpose. And we're just going to pin that in place. Pin this in place. And you're going to do the same with the other end. And it's easy to pull this tab down, that zipper tab down. We've got to be really careful not to pull it off the edge. I've done that a few times. Now, they're metal, so it's very important that we don't sew over those. So we're going to make sure we've got those covered up. And we're going to have to do a little bit of very careful pinning here so that we keep these tabs at the ends of the zip really nice and neat together, and make sure you're not going to sew through those metal bits, because that will be a broken needle and possibly worse. So we're not going to do that. Okay, and then it's at the machine. Machine, slow and steady. Okay, as I say, we do not want any broken needles. And we are just going to start sewing. And we're going to do some forwards and backwardsing. Just bind that off, just secure it. You see, I'm just creeping along. Don't sew over your needle. Just creeping along. Okay. There you go. There you go. So these will help keep that zip looking really smart in our case. And we're going to do exactly the same with the other end now. Oh, too fast there, Janet. That's my foot. Heavy foot. Slow and steady. You need a sharp needle for this, so if you're having any troubles, think about how old your needle is. There we go. So that looks nice. That looks nice. And now we can trim this end of our zip away quite happily. Don't use your best needle scissors. I have got so many types of scissors. I've got posh fabric scissors, posh fabric paper scissors, and I've got cheap and cheerful scissors that do all these types of jobs. And there's a bit of, there you go. You won't see any of this, so don't worry about it. And then again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut those metal bits off so I don't have to worry about those ever again. And my sewing, they are gone. Okay, so there you go. One zip all ready to be sewn in. One zip. Now you're going to take one of your fronts and one of your lining pieces, okay, and we don't worry about all this excess. Well, that will all become clear soon. What we're going to do, we've got to line up our zip with the top edge of here. So this is pretty side up, the zip is pretty side down, okay, and just put that pretty much in the center. You can eyeball it, you can measure it, it's entirely up to you. I am an eyeballer. Then you're going to take one of your lining pieces. You're going to put that, it's always a bit of fluff, isn't there? Pretty side down. So we are sewing the first side of the zip in. Okay, now then you are going to be very carefully making sure this is all aligned as you can get it. You could trim that zip down if it's really bothering you, but I don't mind a bit of excess in my seam allowance, so I've got in the habit of leaving it. It's really up to you. And you want the zip as near to the top as you can get it, all the way across. So this is a bit of a fiddle, take your time. These little clips are really good if you've got them. If you haven't, pins are absolutely fine. These little clips, one of those things where you didn't need them until you had them, and now you've got them, you use them all the time. Okay, just line it up as best you can. And you just see how you get on. And then it will be back to the sewing machine. And what you really need is a zipper foot. If you haven't got one, you will still be able to get a nice result. So don't worry about it. And putting a zip in is one of those sewing skills that terrifies everybody, and they are a bit daunting, and it's always a process. It always is. So don't worry about it, just have a go. Okay, clear as mud, isn't it? So what will happen is when we sew across there, this lining piece will come to the back, and you will have really nice zip. You see, starting to look like something now. So get yourself set up. You only do one side at a time. So get yourself nice and neat, methodically, and then we'll go back to the sewing machines. Zipper foot's on, down. Now then, start sewing. Very slow and steady. Do some back stitches so it's secure. Now as you can see, I'm going to run into that top of that zip very soon. So what I'm going to do unzip it just a tiny bit. If you start with it unzipped, you kind of don't get started properly somehow. So I always sort of start with a couple of stitches with the zip there and work my way down. It's a bit of a process, a bit of shuffling. Keep everything as neat and tidy as you can and just take your time. Okay, so you really want to be sewing quite near that zip tape. Not on it, obviously, otherwise it won't shut. It won't open and close for you, which is your whole point. Just keep yourself going, nice and still. Okay, take your time, go all the way down. I'm going to run into that zip again, so all I'm going to do is now, whether you can see that, it's very hard to see with all these layers, so it's now zipped up out of the way. Just do the best you can all times while still enjoying the process. That's what it's all about. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as your zip works, that's all we care about really, isn't it? Maybe pins would have been better here, I'm not sure. They're good because they slide. So all the zipper foot does really is make sure that your needles is as close to that tape as it can be. But as I say, it won't matter. Backwards and forwards at the end. And off. So it doesn't look like much, does it? At the moment. Da, da, da. To the back. There you go. Look at that. Works, it works, it works. Now that can all be pressed. So give it a nice press with your iron. Both sides. Make sure you don't melt your zipper teeth. Now I'm okay with that. It's not perfect. Look, it could have got a bit neater here. If you want it to be neater, you go back in and sew that a bit straighter. As I say, I don't think my sewing supplies are going to care, and neither do I. So that's it. Good. Back from the ironing board. It's a bit wonky, but so what? Who cares? Right, we're going to do the other side of the zip now. We're going to take the next piece of lining fabric and you're going to have pretty sides facing you. Then you're going to put the pretty sides of the zip on top. And you want to get it as lined up as you can. Okay. See? It's pretty lined up. Okay, and then you're going to put this way on top again, as lined up as you can get it. I'm going to try pins this time. Take your time, slow and steady. Wonky is still good. I do everything wonky. Get everything as lined up as you can. The zip at the top. You can. Here you go. And then we're going to do exactly the same again. We're going to sew all along with your zipper foot. Sew the other side in. Exactly as you did before. Okay. So do a double check before you get going. Yes, there, I can see the zip, so that's the right way. And what's going on back here? Yes, okay. So if you do that, you know you're on track. So this is our lining with the inside of the zip. This is our pretty sides, but the outside of the zip, you can see what you want to see. That's all nice and secure. And we're going to sew with your zipper foot all the way along this side of the zip, exactly as we did before. So I'm going to come back when that is sewn on and show you what to do next. Second side of the zip's in, and it's been to the ironing board again. It's nice and neat now. Now you can trim these off. And I've kept them long all this time, even though they were a little bit annoying, as you saw, because it helps you with any wonkiness. Now, maybe you're not wonky, I don't know, but I always am. So just giving myself that little bit of extra to attach into the seam allowance is very nice and reassuring. Right, now we are ready to put our pencil case together. You must open the zip. Open the zip, open the zip, open the zip, open the zip. If you don't open it, you will not be able to turn your case inside out, and it's all very, very annoying. Then you take your back of your pencil cases and you have wrong sides together this time. Wrong sides together. So you're pretending they're one piece of fabric. And we're going to put pretty sides together. So this is obviously the outside of my bag. And take as long as you need to get this nice and organised. Now this doesn't feel like it's going to come out very well, admittedly. It just feels like inside out, back to front, upside down. But it does. What you do is you match your corners and pin them. And you match those corners best you can and pin them. You make everything else fit. Okay, match your corners. Match your corners. Now you can do 1/4 inch seam allowance all round. So lots of pinning. Get it all as neat as you can. Just keep going, and then you guessed it, we're back to the sewing machine. Open your zip. Do not sew anything until you have opened your zip. Can't tell you how frustrating it is to get all the way round and realise that your zip was closed, and you've just put all that effort into a boring old square that doesn't open and close. Okay, pin all the way around. Then at the sewing machine, we're going to sew 1/4 inch seam all the way round that square. Okay, so it's back to your sewing machines. Right, we're getting to the best bit now. So I've sewn all the way round. Doesn't look like much at the moment. Now these are raw edges, and they will stay raw edges inside your little pencil case, supply case. I've had one of these for years and it's not caused me any trouble, but you can finish the seams. So you could do a zigzag all the way around if you wanted to. You could even put some piping around it if you could be bothered, or you could go like me and just do some pinking shear. So I'm going to trim these corners just a little bit, and I'm just going to pink all the way round. And I'm not going to bore you by doing it all on video, but really this raw edge, you just want to tidy it up in some way. Okay, so I'm just going to do all that, and I've made lots of fluff on my cutting mat, and now you'll see why it's important to have that zip open. So you've neatened all your seams up. I haven't. You're going to turn it the right way out. This is always the best bit. And now it's ready. It's ready to admire. And I always say, last step in all of my patterns, and everything is never, ever, ever point out your mistakes. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to be tempted to put something sharp in these corners to turn them, but I can't tell you how many times I've stuck the sharp thing through the corner and made a hole. So you're just going to persevere and do that. You can buy special turning tools, knitting needles and things are good, but the one that you've trimmed across will come out nicer. Anyway, so there you go. That is nice case. There you go. ready to fill. So you can put lots of sewing supplies in here. My unpicker, which I never use because I hate it. There you go. Tape measures, threads, little project that you're working on. You could fill that with makeup for somebody, put some felt tip pens in there, whatever you want. There you go. It's nice, practical size. And the central zip means that you can really open it wide and see what you're doing. So there you go. One beautifully made, enjoyably made